Vulture Rock Review. We are at Artist Relations at the Endorsement Expo at Hybrid Studios. I am here with Michael Drexler.
That is good enough, yes.
please read what.
Michael Drexler, that's fine.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I just got to hear you play piano with Shalita.
Right.
And it was amazing, the connection you guys had together, and it was a pleasure to hear.
Thank you, Sally, right?
Yes.
Thank you. You're too kind.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so, I've been in the music business basically my whole life, and I've worn different hats. So I'm coming full circle back to my musician hat now, which I started at the tender age of 8, when I was on TV as a singer mostly, and doing records and so on, and then made my way into being a producer and engineer for about 10 years, and just came out of a 15-year career on the recorded music side. So I worked for major record labels and music publishers, including Warner Music, Sony Music, and BMI, running their digital business. And then I met Shalita at a hackathon, and we immediately connected because we both have the artistic side and the technical side and the business side, sort of left brain, right brain kind of thing. And we immediately connected and we clicked, and we're both judges at a hackathon. It was pretty nerdy, actually.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
A hackathon is basically where literally people hack together applications, and it can be for any industry. This was, in music. So they were hacking the next TikTok or the next ticketing platform in 48 hours.
Sorry.
Right. So they come up with new solutions, new applications that hopefully help fans or musicians achieve certain things. And they have 48 hours to get something together, and then at the end, there's judges that sort of pick a winner. And then sometimes they get, either a grant or development time, and they can become the next platform. Typically, they're developers, so they know how to write code, and then they
have to go to school.
They plug into you don't have to necessarily go to school. I mean, you can pick up stuff on your own, and there's many different languages you can use. But typically, you have a data set, and you plug into specific data feeds, and you create something fun out of that.
You have a variety of different stages in your life that have involved around music. Out of the different music lives that you've lived,
right.
What's something that will always stand out that you can take with you forever?
Well, definitely for me, it's performing. I mean, that's really sort of my passion. That's where I really get into the music. It's sort of at the root level. So I'm, I love to practice piano and, compete against other players. For example, did the 3rd place in the World Championship of what they call old-time piano playing, which is ragtime, boogie-woogie kind of stuff. So that's really my passion, is just to get better as a performer. And it never ends. You can never really say, okay, now I know it all, because it's never that, you never reach that level, and you always discover new things, new styles in the music. That's really sort of where the root passion comes from. And then, how do you make money with that? What do you do with it, right? And that's when you got to think about business and creating fan base and booking gigs.
How often do you practice? I took bass lessons once, and they told me I was supposed to practice every day for at least, even if it was for 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, it's tough to put a time on it. For me, it's more like focus. I'd rather skip a practice session and come back more focused and do maybe 2 hours totally focused than say 5 hours just tinkering around. But you know what they say, to get really good at something, typically you have to put in 10,000 hours. And I did the math. I think in my life I did probably closer to 20,000 hours.
No way.
But I had phases where I didn't practice at all. Like when I, did the corporate life, I, practiced maybe on the weekends. And then I had phases where I did 8 hours a day. So it all comes, for me, that's my personal story. When, I feel it and I have the luxury to really play when I feel like it, and I love playing. But I think it's sort of focus, and it's total some of hours. It doesn't really matter, every day. I mean, it's good to have a routine, but that's at least what I find for myself is like I have these woodshedding weeks. I just came out of one where I do like 5-6 hours a day, and then we play and we do other things. Yeah.
What do you like to play the most on?
I love grand pianos. I mean, I have a Yamaha at home, grand piano, which is nice. With Steinways, of course, Besendorfers. But we just played, I'm not endorsing anybody specifically, but we just did Nord lead keyboards today. They had a great Wurlitzer sound in there. It was really nice. And then here, look at what we have here. We got the actual Wurlitzer. This is like the original thing, which is one of my favorites. Then they have the Rhodes. Those are two of my favorite keyboards, to be honest with you, because I mean they have soul. They're real instruments. For me, like real instruments, that's where the heart is, and that's the real deal.
We're just bringing in the new year. 2020 is here. What do you want to take out of this year?
2020 vision.
2020
Yay!
vision.
When you talk about the music business, I think the major shift I see in the music business is sort of elevating the artist. We talk about the artist-centric model where the artist has direct fan relationships and manages their own careers. I think that's the exciting dimension that's I think going to be added this year, where you'll see some breakout artists I think coming from maybe without label support that can manage their own careers. Using either building their own teams or using data science to their own advantage. I think that's really exciting in the music business. And I think you're going to see that this year is going to be a pivotal year for that.
Since you started as a wee boy at 8 years old,
right,
growing up into the man you are today, what's the most standout that you've seen changed in the music industry?
Well, it all comes in life cycles, I think, and it's kind of like a product life cycle, right? Because you're thinking about how music was consumed in the 80s. I don't want to date myself, but
I'm an 80s.
People were buying vinyl records, right? And then in the 90s, you had the CD boom, compact disc, remember that? And that culminated sort of in 99 with because everybody bought the records again that they already owned on CD because it was better quality, quote unquote, which, is debatable. But from that point on, we saw a huge decline because of file sharing and a lot of issues, piracy and the whole digital world where, the big players didn't really know, big record labels, what to do with this stuff. And it's sort of we saw this huge downturn. And then, 4 or 5 years ago, finally we're in a major growth area again. But, now you have unlimited shelf space and free distribution for artists. Everybody can have their tracks on platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, what have you. But yet still the major companies, the incumbents, still demand a pretty, heavy market share. But that is slowly changing as the artists are more empowered. So I think we're seeing at the beginning of a new product life cycle, which is streaming probably is going to be there for a while, but you see other platforms evolving, like social platforms like TikTok, video platforms, and artists creating, really getting smart around creating their own fan base relationships, their own fan relationships. So I think we're sort of on the cusp of a new life cycle right now. Yeah. Follow me.
Follow him.
At Mo Drexler on Instagram, Twitter, Michael Drexler Pianist on Facebook, or Michael Drexler on Facebook. Or YouTube, also. Michael Drexler Pianist on YouTube. It was lovely to speak with you. Thank you so much.